last Wednesday to today. So we will be breaking soon for morning tea. Does anyone wish to move on the minutes of the 13th of October? We held them off because we didn't have all councillors here for those, in case any councillors had any issues. Councillor Edwards. We have a mover.
Is that it there, Carl? No. I'd like to move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 13th of October 2021 and concluded on the 20th of October 2021 be confirmed.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to them? All those in favour? 9-0. Okay.
Mayor Golder, I'd like to move a procedural motion.
Please go ahead.
I would like to move a procedural motion that we move item C16 in confidential to be considered as the first item of business.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Please go ahead.
Why? What to what benefit, Councillor Edwards? Why are we doing this?
Gee, I don't think I need to provide any.
So do you believe that the motion is the answer, is it?
Yeah.
But you believe what, sorry, did you say?
The motion, well, it's up to Councillor Edwards, but I was wondering whether he was thinking the motion of moving it.
Well, I just thought a procedural motion was we just vote on it, that was all.
Yeah.
Once it's put forward, I thought we just vote on it.
This question is trying to understand why we're doing it and what benefits so that I can decide how I'd like to vote.
Well, I just said, I put it back to the chair and just said, well, I think a procedural motion, we're supposed to just vote on it. That's what I think. But, you know, I mean, I just happy for it to be heard earlier, if you want a reason.
Okay, so that's the answer. So do we have any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak for the motion or against? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'm speaking against the motion because I just don't understand why we're moving it. I've asked the question. I would like to have been told the benefits so that I could truly consider it, and because I haven't been provided that answer, I cannot vote for this motion.
Right, does anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion?
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, I don't think there's a for and against. It's just a procedural motion. You just vote on it. Right. There's no seconder required, and I think you just vote on it. That's my understanding of the rules.
We'll go to the vote then. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division.
There was a seconder.
Yeah, well, there shouldn't be.
That's my naivety, I suppose. No, it was Councillor McMullen. Changing the agenda does need a seconder.
But we did have one.
Sorry.
It was Councillor McMullen.
Sorry, changing the order of business, does you?
Yeah.
My apology.
Okay, so that's the first item of business.
Where are we starting?
Is now, what number was that one?
C16 is going to be
C16, yeah.
Already declared a conflict of interest.
Haven't we got to see?
We're going to adjourn.
Oh, we're going to adjourn first, are we?
Yeah, probably. What time is it?
20. Oh, we're nearly 20
Is
past.
council happy to adjourn and do the morning tea thing first?
That'd be.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just adjourn the meeting for morning tea. Okay, we'll keep going with the ordinary meeting at 11:03. So the next order of business is C16, Chief Executive Officer Annual Leave. And I've declared a conflict, so I will be leaving the room while this is being dealt with.
Also declared a conflict of interest earlier in the meeting, so I'll be leaving the room.
Rob?
Yes,
Start to do the next bit.
the actual chair.
No.
They don't, okay. I'm just wondering if they have to stay. No, it's all good.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
all good.
Well, I'd like
Just
to
in terms of the chair, we
nominate.
have a nomination for the chair. The
I'd
mayor
like
and
to
deputy mayor's left the room.
Councillor Guthrie, thanks, Deputy CEO.
Councillor Edwards has nominated Councillor Guthrie. Have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Okay. Councillor Guthrie, you accept the nomination? Yep. So it's been nominated. Councillor Guthrie, take the role of chair. Those in favour, signify. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against, 5-2. Councillor Guthrie.
I'll read out the actual agenda item first and then move into closed. Okay, C16, Chief Executive Officer, CEO Annual Leave. Can I have somebody please to move us into confidential? Kelly, would you be able to put up the actual, the wording that we need, and also then the table that tells us why we're going into confidential, please? Thank you.
Here we go, Burko.
Would somebody like to be the person to move that we go into confidential?
Yeah, I will.
Thank you, councillor.
In accordance with provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the council resolved to close the meeting to the public at 11:06 to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider it's necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is enclosed.
And it's C16. Thank you.
C16, Chief Executive Officer, CEO Annual Leave.
Okay, can I have somebody to second that, please? Thank you, councillor Ladbrook. Can we go to the vote, please, in favour of going into closed? That would be 6. Can we now get an indication of those opposing the going into? Okay, that would be councillor O'Neill. So we have a division. Kelly, can you just record that, please? 6-1.
I'd like to move that council reaffirm. This is reaffirm resolution OM/09.2021/58. Council Christmas and New Year closure dates, whereby staff are required to access accrued annual leave and or rostered days off.
Councillor Edwards, you might need to go a bit slower.
Oh,
for
sorry.
Kelly to be typing.
In brackets RDO. Entitlements during these advertised closure dates. And number 2, that's number 1. And number 2, direct the Chief Executive Officer. Sorry, it's protocol will be the same as the second one here. Basically, I'll just have it changed there.
What was the original?
So number 2 will be direct the Chief Executive Officer, in brackets CEO, to take accrued annual leave entitlements as in brackets as per clause 9.2 of the Contract of Employment, dated 15th of March 2017, close brackets, in addition to the advertised Christmas /New Year Council closure to commence 4th of January 2022 and conclude on conclude on 1st of March 2022.
I'll just give everybody a minute or so just to read that.
Just the new year. Yep.
Can I ask for a seconder?
No,
You've got
I
a
just
question?
I have a question. Could you just explain number 1 to me, please?
Yeah, that was the meeting, ordinary meeting, 9th, 21, resolution 58. I think it was in the 27th of September meeting, I think.
Is that across the
The minutes, yeah. Basically, it's just all those, all the dates the place closes, the Maranoa Regional Council closes down and opens up again on the 4th of the 1st, on 4th of the 1st, 2022, which is...
So you're asking the CEO to take the normal Christmas and New Year plus that second
Yes.
one there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when do they finish for Christmas? What's the date?
Come back, basically, there's a public holiday on the Monday, the 3rd, and then start on the 4th.
But when do they finish for Christmas?
23rd is the close.
So all staff go off on the 23rd?
So no, 24th will be the first day of the Christmas, closed, yeah.
So you're asking her to take from the 24th off to the 1st of March?
Correct, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I do have a question.
Yep, go, please. Councillor Hancock.
Through the chair, Councillor Edwards, I'm just wondering, can you explain why you felt it necessary to bring this report to the table today? I'm just trying to understand the motive behind this report and this suggested resolution.
Well, look, I think it's everyone's right to be able to bring something to the actual table. For the CEO to take leave, I don't see anything wrong about it or suspicious about it. It's basically just asking a CEO to take excess leave. That's all it's. I think it's perfectly legitimate for this to occur. With any motion, I guess it becomes my motion, and that's basically why I've brought it to the table, mainly to have it tested, have the excess leave taken, and voted on by the majority of councillors.
Are there any more questions before I seek a seconder to this motion? And obviously then we have the opportunity to talk to the motion once we get a seconder to have it then as a live consideration. Okay, so we've got Councillor Edwards as a nominating this particular motion. Do we have a seconder for this one? Councillor Ladbrook, thank you. Councillor Edwards, would you like to talk to, or would you like to add any comments with regard to this motion?
Oh no, well, I'll just say that basically it's as I said before, it's about probably the management, a management thing, a management of leave. It's the ability of a councillor to be able to manage through a motion to manage that situation, to take leave. You know, it's basically, I'm not that keen on saying too much about it, because I'm aware that it may be there may be a contractual thing here. So I'm just very conscious of the fact that all I've really got to say is that as a councillor, I'm happy to present these motions to the council, and then find out, when it goes to the meeting and tested, whether it gets up or not. So that's basically all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other councillor that would like to speak against the motion? Councillor Taylor?
I'd like to speak against the motion. I won't be voting for this motion. This agenda item should not even been allowed to be part of this meeting. How Councillor Edwards could even bring it to the table is beyond me. If this is supported today, I'm going to say it's unethical, disrespectful and wrong in so many levels. All eligible councillors, which was 7 of us, put in place a plan to go forward with until the CEO's contract was up, which, if I remember rightly, is the 1st of March 2022. Some are going to be more than happy to go against their word, well, in fact, our word. Why we can't just let the CEO work through the priorities and tasks we have set out in her performance agreement is, again, beyond me. Take a good hard look at what you're about to do. Surely after 10 years or more, we can at least let her go with dignity she deserves. It can't be about the money, as her leave is already budgeted for, and whoever would have to step up and go into acting role would see a pay increase. It can't be about her performance, as we have done performance reviews and no one has mentioned that they don't believe she is doing her job. The organisational structure is a huge task, and whether we're on the same page with this, the CEO has been nothing but professional in her approach. As far as I can see, she is looking to leave the Maranoa Regional Council in the best shape possible for her staff and her community. As I said, this agenda item should not have come to the table, and I will be very disappointed in all of you as councillors if you vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other councillor that would like to speak for the motion?
What I'd like to say is the CEO is still employed until March because we're paying her, so she's employed by us. Plus, I think it's a good business decision. That's all I've got to say.
Is there any other councillor that would like to speak against the decision? Councillor Hancock?
Thank you. I am truly trying to understand the motive behind this motion, but I can see no benefit to council or the Maranoa region if this motion goes through today. It doesn't save council any money, as the costs have already been budgeted for. As a matter of fact, it will just take away time for the CEO to finish off the KPIs that this council has asked her to do. The time that she would have planned and set forward to be able to hand her role as CEO over to somebody else who comes in the best possible way for the benefit of the whole Maranoa and for this council. It will take away the time for her to best prepare the organisation for this transition. And I feel very sad that that will be lost, because my view sitting around this table is that we should be always looking at that whole picture of the benefit for council and for the whole Maranoa. So if it is not about that, therefore I have come to the conclusion that it is purely gamesmanship. Councillor Guthrie and I have just completed a Women Leading in Local Government course where workplace bullying was a topic that was very much on the agenda. And it was, and what I learnt from that course regarding bullying is that you shouldn't just be complacent when you see it happening within a workplace organisation, because what you are willing to watch and say nothing for is what you're willing to accept. So if this motion goes ahead today, I believe that this will be workplace bullying, and personally, I will not be a party to it. Councillors around this table are aware of a conversation that 2 councillors held with the CEO. And if this motion goes up today, the councillors who vote for this motion will be going against their word. Now, my mum raised me that your word is everything, that it shows the true character and integrity of a person. And on this basis, and the knowledge that I have of a discussion that was had on behalf of the eligible councillors, I simply cannot go against my character and my integrity of being able to keep my word as a councillor for the Maranoa region.
Is there any other councillor that would like to speak?
Yes, Acting Chair.
Councillor Burkett?
This is nothing personal on my point of view, and I do not want to discuss too much because I don't know where the boundaries start and stop, sort of thing. But the accrued leave was a big thing that I brought up in 2 of these discussions, and there was supposed to be a lot of time taken last month, and it wasn't. So, to me, a lot of things had been mixed up and changed in the wash over a period of time. But there is the excess leave is a big thing for me, and I think moving forward for both parties would be a good fresh start. I'd hate to be having hanging over my head, in the coming months. So if I was the CEO, I think it's not fair on her as well. So yeah, that's the accrued leave was a big thing for me.
Any other final comments before we go to the vote?
Are you seeking a speaker against?
I'm going to ask, well, I'm happy to have an against or yes? Councillor O'Neill?
So I'm against this resolution, and I'm sure that won't be a surprise to anyone here. I've had the honour of sitting at this table since 2012, and between 2012 and the start of this term, there were close to 6,500 decisions that were made by myself and the councils in which I served with. Since this term of council, there's been 957 resolutions. And I've got to say that this particular resolution is the lowest standing resolution that I've had to add my voice in speaking against. A decision was made only months ago by a majority of council not to renew the CEO's contract. A majority of councillors decided that. An undertaking, which I can't speak about because it was in confidential, and it has to do with the contract of the CEO, an undertaking was made by 2 councillors that are currently in this room. And I will be disgusted if this is supported today by a majority to uphold the resolution that Councillor Edwards has put forward. Now, Councillor Edwards rightfully said that it's his right to bring forward any matters to council. That's true. Any councillor can. But is it appropriate? Is it ethical? Is it morally acceptable that we have an executive of this council that has devoted the last decade of her career to advancing the interests of our region, has implemented the majority view of the councillors around this table? Now, I know that was frustrating in the previous term to some councillors, that at times the majority view wasn't shared by them. Equally, but the CEO implemented the decisions. Equally, this term, there is a majority that largely support the decisions that go before this council, and every one of those decisions has been implemented by the CEO. and her staff, but led by the CEO. So I am perplexed as to why we cannot afford, if this is supported, the decency of a professional to see out the last few months of her tenure at this council by supporting her through until the end of her contract in the end of February. To force, because it's not asking, this is forcing the CEO to take annual leave, in essence, terminates her employment here, because she won't be here. She won't be turning up at 9 o'clock on the first day in January. She will have left the organisation on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, a woman that has dedicated her career of the last 10 years to advancing the interests of our communities. I just am absolutely appalled if this is supported today. And so I urge councillors to have a real hard think about commitments that were made in confidential discussions with the CEO, which for contractual reasons can't be voiced here today, but can be referred to, but the details cannot be shared. I ask you to have a hard look at what going against that commitment would mean to you as an individual that has the responsibility of making decisions around this table. I said when the decision was made to terminate the contract that it was a dark day. I stand by those comments. I think this will be even darker, and it will be a stain on this council that this is the way we treat our employees. And you can put every argument under the sun that we're allowed to do this, but is it morally, is it the right decision morally and ethically? I argued that it is not. And sadly, I have to be part of the decision that's before us today, and my decision will be to vote against this, and I urge all councillors to do the same.
Councillor Edwards, before you sum up, and I'll invite you to sum up, I might take the opportunity just to make two comments. One is that annual leave entitlements are an industrial entitlement. They come under enterprise bargaining, and the design is for staff, employees to take leave at the end of a 12-month period to enable them to return refreshed from a physical, emotional and social point of view. So annual leave is an annual entitlement for any employee. And the expectation attached to that is that people do exercise and access their annual leave to enable them to be able to take time off. And as an employer, employers have a responsibility to make sure that that annual leave is managed from a organisational point of view, a financial point of view, and from an individual's point of view. So I think it's a very relevant point to say that this is not anything other than requiring, to my understanding, that the CEO actually takes accrued leave that she has in credit as part of other staff, other council staff who will be taking leave at a Christmas break, and then enabling her to access some of her accrued leave in addition. Would you like to sum up?
Yeah, I'm just going to say one thing, that is, I've spent all my life being ethical and moral as an accountant and previously financial planner. We eat, sleep, breathe, all those things, all our lives. I've spent all my working life doing so, and yeah, so this motion is what it is. It's up there, that's what it is. And we're allowed, you know, as I said before, It's the right of a councillor to put a motion forward. People talk to them for it and against it, put it to the meeting, you test it. This motion is, as I said, it's perfect, it's legitimate, it's about taking excess accrued leave. That's what it is. Okay? And in relation to other things that were said, I'm just going to leave them alone. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, at this point, I will now call for the vote of those councillors in favour of this particular motion to show their support, please. Okay, 4. Can I now ask for those who are against this motion to then indicate? So we have a vote, thank you very much. We have a vote of 4-3, we have a division. And Kelly, can you record the who voted and the way that they voted, please? I'll now adjourn and I'll ask the Mayor and those conflicted councillors to return.
So before we do that, I'd like to move to put something on the agenda today to be dealt with, which is Australia Day. So I move that we put an item on the agenda for Australia Day for a People's Award and extending the... But anyway, so we can just say Australia Day and we can talk about it. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Mullen. Any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. So would that be an open or closed Australia Day?
Not actually discussing the
People?
the applications this year. It's more actually about the.
It should be an open.
So it's actually a broader one. So there's nothing confidential. There's no reason to put it into close. So.
Okay, so we might deal with this one next. I would like to move that council include a People's Award for each area of the Maranoa where it is simply a name and simple wording, if included, to be nominated for the People's Award via text, email or in writing, or at our council offices, you know, if people can't write, and with only one nomination allowed via each device or email. So when I say each device, that would be each device or phone number. So, you know, via text is what I'm saying there. And then point 2, and point 2 is that the Australia Day Awards be extended for one more year. Nominations. Be extended for one more for another 12 months if the nominations were unsuccessful.
Didn't we do that already?
I think that's in there.
That's how it stands now.
Yeah, that, we've
That's
done
already
that
there.
change.
We've resolved that.
Right, well, we don't need that point 2 then. We can take that away.
So, Mr Mayor, are you talking like,
She was out in that office, I
People's
think.
choice,
Well,
like
she
loads
came out
of-
of there when we were sitting out, went out and.
A very simple way, completely the opposite of our normal nomination process. That will still have that, but the People's Choice Award is a very simple way that people can go into our office, they can text a number, they can email and say, it should be this person, and there's no, major detail if they don't wish to.
What do they have to do to be nominated for a People's Award?
Well, as far as support for the community, and it can be done in many different ways. So,
just like to look at other ones, like
Yep.
the Logies, they have the process they go through, and then they have like a People's Choice. In football, at the Daily M's, and there's one,
Yep.
not necessarily the player of the year doesn't get it, but the guy that the fans love, like the fans poll.
yeah.
So yeah, you'd have to have some criteria otherwise, and you don't want it to be elevated up to be better than the Citizen of the Year.
Councillor Guthrie?
Mr Mayor, I haven't decided which way I'm going with this one yet, but I'm just wondering whether you could put it in as that we undertake a trial for the coming 12-month period.
Yeah, I'm happy.
To be
with that.
reviewed, and then we determine whether or not it's actually been successful, whether it's popular, whether it's practical, it actually meets the guidelines or the thought that you've got behind it all. I think if we could maybe look at it for a trial for 12 months, might be my suggestion.
Yeah, I'm happy with the trial. So the idea is that it's a very simple way, because the feedback that I've got, it actually reduces the amount of people that can fill out a full application. So this is a very simple one, whereby that someone can text, someone can walk into office and say, I'd like to nominate this person for their community work. Councillor Hancock?
I just have a couple of questions, Mr Mayor. So you're saying that one person can have 4 votes?
No, I think you
No.
meant to say the opposite.
Well, that's how that
Okay,
reads.
righto, so I'm happy to clarify that means from one, so, we've had situations where one device has been used for many people to use. So it's really, if we can notice through the, I've had advice that we can notice who's sending us things, that we will only take one if it's exactly the same person for the same thing.
So that's not what the resolution says. But my other question is because it's a popularity, it sort of turns into a popularity vote, popularity contest. I just think you have to have something to they've got to have done something or
Criteria.
there's got to be a criteria attached on the nomination form, because because we could essentially open this up to a situation where there is somebody who's being nominated who may not have done anything if there's no criteria. Or it might be something that, it's very, very scary to have no criteria. You have to have criteria. And a popularity vote's no criteria.
And I do, and I get where you're going with it, but I just think it could open up a can of worms, and you don't want kids to aspire to someone who's the most popular footballer's kid.
Councillor Guthrie?
So, Mr Mayor, just following on from what Councillor Hancock is saying, and I can see what you're trying to do, but I think like you're saying, Councillor Hancock, you do need to have a criteria. So maybe it's the quiet achiever or something like that there, that they still have got to have been active in their community or have done something noteworthy. So you've got to sort of give it a bit of flesh, so the People's Award becomes recognition of
Something.
and then fill in the gaps as to what they're being recognised for. So
Okay,
is it for
so-
the quiet community member? So it's basically identifying what you're acknowledging them for.
Righto, so I'm happy to start with, the criteria would be community, benefit, community benefit of, for the individual. And then put in, comma, quiet achiever.
That doesn't make sense.
No, the community benefit for the individual, that doesn't make sense.
Bit of a brainstorm on this one, I think.
So
Yeah, it's just a bit hard to do it off the cuff like this.
would be individual, the criteria would be the individual would provide community benefit, and then, quiet achiever. And it has been actually noticed that sometimes people are in paid work, but the community just thinks they do a really fantastic job. So we're actually saying that, and I agree with the to trial it and see what the community says. So we open it up into the community. Councillor Burkett.
Can I just make a suggestion that we lay it on the table, and if we get a chance today, have a bit of a briefing, say, look, I get where you're going, but I think we need to nut it out a bit more, and then maybe we can carry it over to Surat, lay it on the table to Surat meeting when we've got a bit of time.
What's the time
We
pressure on
can't do it because he's got to be in by the 26th of January or
The
something.
time pressure is getting out the nominations because
Because you've got a report next week.
we have, but I wanted to, and I was, because they're actually going to go out, I think we've,
26th of November is nominations. The suggestion is it's closing on 26th of November.
I moved that we lay it on the table till later in the meeting to get a bit more flesh to this. All those in favour? All those against? 7-2 of one call for division. Okay, so have we done conflicts yet?
Well, we should.
We normally do that
Before
Only-
each agenda item.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going to go into closed, what about the Saleyards? Was that a closed one?
Open.
Open.
Any of us, Councillor Hancock and Councillor O'Neill may be the only ones that we would have done. We did our conflicts last week, didn't we?
No, we didn't because that was one we didn't either.
No,
We've
because it's
handed
laid
in,
on
but
the
we haven't
table.
actually.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
No one's actually stated any conflicts for a
Okay, righto. What's the one I got?
So we're going with C1, are we?
Well, we've got to declare our conflicts if that's the case.
It's not enclosed.
What's that?
The Saleyards.
Saleyards one's
No,
not.
no, it's
No,
not.
we're doing confidential first.
Yeah, if there's any conflicts in there.
It's got to be.
Oh, if there are any conflicts in here.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did declare another one. What was it on 5? Was it? I thought I declared.
It's all budget.
No, it wasn't in here.
Corporate plans.
No, open.
Sorry, mate.
You're right.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do closed now?
Yes, but that's in white.
Or do you want to deal with the Saleyards? What have you got, Kel?
Well, you could go and do your confidential items that have not been dealt with at all at the
Righto.
moment and just move into close.
Righto. So do we have any conflicts on the confidential items that haven't been dealt with?
Can't remember.
No, because they're all rating, but corporate plan, organisation structure.
Righto. So do we have anyone to move into closed? Councillor McMahon.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a local government may resolve to close a meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors or members to consider it necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, table provides that the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. Agenda items C1, Quarter 1 Budget Review to 30 September 2021. C3, is it? 3.3, Request for Rates Categorisation, Assessment Number 13006713.
Number 8.
C8, Rating Review.
No, that's C9. C8's quarter 1 report.
Oh, sorry, it's not there. I just,
I'll need to add.
Aye.
C8 in. I'll need to add C8 in.
C8 is 2021-22 Quarter 1 Report. Progress on implementing the corporate plan and operational plan to 30 September 2021.
C9.
C9, review.
Rating.
Oh, rating review, sorry, yeah.
LC1.
LC1, I should have.
C16.
No, we've done it. LC1, request for council to consider purchasing land lot 2 on RP 123777. LC2, potential for community group partnership. LC4 is quarter 1 budget review to 30 September 2021 revised.
That's it.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Move that C9 be dealt with prior to C3, please.
9 be dealt with prior to C3. C3, please.
Rating, request for rates.
Righto. Okay, so do we have a second? I'll second that. We're changing the, well, it's sort of like an order of business.
Is that right?
Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
What works for you, Kel?
But if you just go to C1 and formally do this with C1.
What, sorry?
We'll do C1 first.
We're moving it in the agenda because we've got it.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, I did. I've got to move things around. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, C1. This is the one that's been removed, isn't it, or changed? Yeah, right, okay. C1, 2021-22 Quarter 1 Budget Review to 30 September 2021. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that this item be removed from the agenda, refer to updated agenda item LC4.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, and then we will deal with C2's been done,
No, C9 was done.
but have we done C2?
Yes.
Ask for C9 to be done prior to C3. I
Yeah, it didn't say
Yeah,
anything
next.
about C2.
Because we've done C2.
We've done C8 too.
So,
Later on the paper.
so it has to go to C9 now.
Well,
C2 was dealt with, was it?
Yeah.
we've done C2?
Yeah, we did that last.
C9.
So we're doing C9. Do we have a page number, please?
If you got the new stuff, that is. Yeah.
C9, Rating Review. Do we have a mover?
Mr Mayor, I'll move that, I've got to work something out, council, what's the word?
Did you have your old resolution there? On
No,
page
11.
146, just as a,
That council engage Mead Perry Group to facilitate a rating category restructure. Got to mention, where's the quote? 2 would be accept the quote, I suppose. Accept their quote as per resolutions that make.
And did you want to put in there that first have preliminary meetings with full council and staff?
Well,
That's in our resolution from before.
well, that was supposed to be done, but it never happened.
Well, we haven't met with them yet. They
I
haven't been
realise that,
engaged.
but this has gone on with that, but anyway.
On page 147, I've got in there that an initiation meeting with elected members and relevant staff has been tentatively scheduled for the 10th of November.
Okay, I'll try and get it right.
But that was supposed to be done before this, before anyone went to them. That was, we were involved in the original, were to be involved in the original negotiations, as per the resolution. Anyway,
Well, I thought we needed to get a quote off them.
we were to have the discussion with them to get the costings. Council,
Oh, I don't.
well, council timetable meetings between Mead Perry Group and relevant council staff and elected members to review their proposals and consider alternative rating criteria or descriptors and costings.
Yes, well, that's the whole idea of the initiation meeting,
I don't think it's too bad.
was
Anyway.
to, do that. Okay.
So as far as where the, did you want to note,
I haven't got page numbers on mine, I've still got the old one.
could someone pass councillor McMullen?
What page?
You,
I'm on page 145,
Here we go.
which is an updated one. Do you want that? Yep.
Director Sharon, as far as costings, did we have where that, even that meeting on the 10th was coming from? Did we have any suggestions of a work order or?
No, I have, it's included in
Page is that?
LC4,
In quarter one budget.
quarter one budget,
Is there?
because it wasn't included in
Here's a
in the
return
budget
cost.
that was
Yeah.
adopted.
And the amount there.
Okay, Mr Mayor, I'll start again.
Righto.
But it's the council engaged with Mead Perry Group to facilitate a rating category and initiate the meeting with elected members and relevant council staff for the 10th of November 2021. Was there something in here about the money? No, that's not.
And the airport accommodation.
So since this is a smaller pot of money, would we have Deputy CEO, would we have a pot of money or something to be able to put this to? So page 147.
So
Previous resolution, actually.
Is-
That's only their travel there.
The travel and the
But on
expense up the top there.
146 is the actual cost.
Yeah.
So if I have to add those two together.
So, could I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
I've interpreted this report differently. The recommendation that's put is the council receive another report with the idea of meeting with the group, with this particular firm on the 10th of November, and then I would suspect a decision would be made the next meeting after that.
well, that's,
We still got to pay for their travel and
I get that, but
yeah. Well, that's what.
that's not where I got the impression the deputy mayor was headed in
Well-
terms of.
That was, I thought, was going to be the first resolution that we put up some time ago, but I'm just trying to fathom it out now.
so meet with them, pay that $2,000, then decide whether we
Probably can't mention figures.
No,
Sorry.
well, we're in.
When-
No, that's right.
That's closed.
Yeah, approximately, and then talk about the other.
That's right.
So really, you just got to go with the officer's recommendation.
Thought so.
Exactly, yeah, because obviously,
But there's nothing,
Okay, so you might need to tell the mayor that we need to adjourn.
That's in their recommendation,
that the council receive and note the report.
yeah.
and I
Because
think councillors
on
there.
there,
I mean,
then
the resolution
turns
was on
around
the
and
books for
says
staff to
where we
start
meet.
the ball rolling, so staff have got to go forward and obviously talk to them, because that's the resolution. So I think page 151, the letter from the company, just
Excuse
outlining
me,
saying-
councillors, we're going to have a break. We've got a technical difficulty that the camera is not filming, so we'll just have a break for 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay, I'll start. At count, what is C9, that council receive and note the report as presented. 2, initiate a meeting with elected members and relevant staff
and company.
and the recommended company on the 17th of November 2021.
And that's to discuss the parameters of the review.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that,
Discuss
Mr.
the
Mayor.
parameters of the review.
I'm happy to second it, but do you want to put down via teleconference or via
Well, I would-
electronically or something rather than have them travel out?
Thought maybe council there would.
Might be better.
Talk to them just in case they.
Talk to them because it might be,
Might be in a jail doing a job, you know.
Okay.
I know it's, what was it, one's, oh, we can't say.
Righto, we've got a second of councillor Guthrie. Any opposition?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Just a question through you, Mr Mayor, to Director Sharon. Does council have a program to do this in-house? A rating review?
We have rates modelling software that we could do this, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, does Move wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I think by engaging this company, it's not this company, it's a fresh set of eyes, and I think we need to go to, I won't call them independent, but a fresh set of eyes to help work this program out, or the new.
Righto. Does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I am not against a rating review. I'm open to a rating review, but I don't agree with this process. I just don't believe that we need to be going to an external company at this stage of this process. I think the council has invested in a program that it has that we could do this internally at this stage to have a look at it ourselves, and then once we look at it ourselves, then we could determine whether we need to engage an external company to help us out with this review. So I just can't support this at this stage.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? I'll speak for the motion. I believe that this company has been experienced dealing with many councils or councils that are in the rural sphere that has many challenges with some of the categories, and I believe more we can align those will help to allow our rating to be really following the valuation principles, and it also will be a better result all round. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I've got no problem with the Mead Perry Group. I don't know why we're not saying their name, given it was in the first resolution. So for full disclosure, I think it's appropriate that we actually say the company. I'm with Councillor Hancock. I don't have a concern necessarily with undertaking a rating review. My concern is that we just haven't gone out to get 2 quotes. And this is not my money, it's ratepayers' money. And I think this is poor decision making. I think it's poor governance. I think it's poor due diligence that we aren't simply going out to get 2 quotes. Now, this may in fact be the way we go, but you know, what we do in our own private lives and where we spend our money's our business. When we sit around this table, we're spending other people's money, and I think we've got to have the appropriate you know, decision-making parameters around it. So on that basis, I won't be supporting the resolution.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? Does Move wish to sum up?
And Mr Mayor, as I said, We need to get a new set of eyes after speaking with other councils that have used this company, Mead Perry, and it's not necessarily because it's Mead Perry. They've used an independent company that they hadn't dealt with, and they were surprised and how big a change in the rating, the new rating categories and things like that made for them, and really opened up their vision on things and put them on the right track. And wasn't and Mead Perry, they used Mead Perry because they'd been using other companies and their own staff, and they needed a fresh set of eyes.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on to
C3.
C3. C3, request for rates categorisation, assessment number 13006713. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 acknowledge receipt of the applicant's request for rates classification. 2, confirm that a rating restructure is going to be undertaken and the outcome is obviously not received at this point. 3, undertake as an interim measure that the applicant be levied at the previous rating category of large accommodation work camp A category until rating restructure proposals are considered and enacted on by MRC.
Are you meaning, sorry, can I ask a question? Are you meaning to say restructure or review? But based on the previous resolution, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's about a review.
Yeah, confirm that a rating review is currently being undertaken. Yeah, sorry.
Kelly had it, but you said something.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Where?
Would you mind starting again at the beginning?
Yeah, acknowledge the receipt of the applicant's request for a rates reclassification. And advise that a rating review is going to be undertaken and the outcome is not received. That doesn't sound right.
Not received.
Is outcome with the outcome, and the outcome has not received.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, would it be in the request being considered in line with the outcome of the review? Basically, yeah, you're going to have your review.
Yeah,
and you reconsider the request in line with that review. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think that'd be good.
And that's right.
Mover.
Thanks. And the request be considered in line with the review, and in the interim measure, the applicant be levied at the previous rating category of large accommodation work A. The previous rating category of large accommodation work camp A.
Mayor Director Sharon, looks like she wants to say.
Director Sharon?
I'm just trying to think this through.
Or should we lay it on the table till next week?
No, we can't keep laying on the table, Mr Mayor. They're waiting for an answer.
Can we go into close, please?
Sure. Okay, I move that we go into closed to deal with item C3. I think we've already put it up on the board, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour, 9-0. Okay, item C3. We had a mover, Councillor McMullen. Did you want to
I'll
move
read it again.
do something, move something different?
Mr Mayor, I'll move that, one, in accordance with section 82(1)(c) of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council decide the rating category for the rateable land of assessment 13006713 should be in category 32, accommodation work camps 151 to 250. 2, the applicant be encouraged to consider lodging a concession application to be considered at the ordinary meeting on the 10th of November 2021. 3, council advise the rating review is going to be undertaken and the request be considered in line with the review.
We have a second, Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition?
Say G.
Sorry?
You say G.
Camp G. I thought we had a seconder. Anyway.
There was
Have
no,
a seconder.
There was no seconder.
Oh, sorry, I thought it.
Righto.
Okay.
So, does Merv wish to speak to it?
No, I think I've said enough. Thanks, Mr Mayor, at the moment.
Anyone else wish to speak? Against or for? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. 9-0? Oh, sorry. We'll go again. All those in favour? All those against? 8-1 if I can call for division.
Sorry, I've got to catch up. Me and who seconded it? Councillor O'Neill.
Yeah, well, we done C8.
No,
8-1, was it?
141.
this is.
Yeah, I got the wrong. Which one's next?
C8 was scrapped, wasn't it?
I think it was laying on the table to the next meeting. There's resolutions there. So it's not ready, but we just, the motion.
Okay. Is that the operational plan, is it? C8. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett?
I'd like to move that this item lay on the table until the next ordinary meeting.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Second?
Don't need a second to lay it on the table. Leave it on the table. Lay it on the table. All those in favour? 9-0.
Opposed?
LC1, LC2 and LC4.
Do you want to do Graham? The board, do you want to do him?
And Graham's got 2 and Cindy as well, so I think you need Cindy for that a bit.
What page is that one on?
LC1, page 2 in the late confidential.
We had an email about that.
The late confidential, isn't it? Is that correct? We're on L.
Confidential, LC1.
I thought Deputy Director Cam was going to send us an email.
Nothing come through.
We might go to LC, what's LC2?
Then we have to change the order.
Oh, Ed was, have we got that one, LC2?
It would be easier just to lay it on the table.
2's fine.
Yeah, it's just in the body of the report, councillors, at LC1, the resolution.
Who's going to, this was what was in the report, but I
Oh,
think.
he had a resolution.
Yeah, it's actually in the body of the report. No, it's in the body of the report, councillors. It's in the report. In the,
Okay.
in
So what's that, that's LC1?
But LC1, we did have some extra,
Yeah, there it is.
It's there.
Yeah.
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 we did, remember, we talked to Deputy Director about some wording of other options as
That's it.
far as.
He just said that's it.
Oh, so it
So it was in the report though.
wasn't because he said he had to change that.
This is, what's in the report
It's
Not what's on the screen.
Oh, right, okay.
it's changed.
Thought it was in the report, he was going to go away and just double check, and it is in the report.
Copy this from within the report.
Yeah,
But it's not what was originally recommended though.
We had it as an option, we
Bedded in.
Yeah.
yes, we did, and we do that option sometimes, councillor, you'll find.
you might have it in your report, Kel, but I don't think we got it in the printed one.
Yeah, on page
Yeah.
5, 6.
Might have been the old one, there might have been two of them printed.
No, there's only one from there, bottom of page 5.
There was a few lines changed.
Yeah, 5 and then 6.
But I think if you read the resolution, that's
Some words.
in line with what we've discussed.
That is
Yeah,
the
that's
line.
right, but it was
Yeah.
changed, that's what I'm getting at, it's changed.
That's exactly what's written here.
Okay.
So this is LC.1 Request for council to consider purchasing land on lot 2 on RP 123777. Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that Council 1 undertake a land valuation of Lot 2 on SP 123777 with the associated costs allocated to WO 22307. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to enter into discussions with the landowners of Lot 2 on SP 123777 regarding mutually agreeable terms for the proposed purchase of this land. And 3, be presented with a subsequent report on the matter at a future meeting.
We have a seconder, councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
That's 7. Oh, no, we done, no, page 7, number 2.
LC2, potential for community group partnership. I'd like to move that council receive and note the report. 2, prior to distribution be provided for comment a copy of the draft letter incorporating the feedback recommendations as outlined. Well, that's different.
No, that's
There was going to be a letter. Well, I'll
Yeah,
like
that
to-
is.
copy of the
You just
draft.
read it
You've
out.
just read that. Copy of the
And
draft
it's
letter.
our feedback, incorporating the feedback recommendations that we gave earlier.
No, as outlined in the officer's report.
Yeah, that we
Yeah.
went through.
But we,
He's
anyway,
going to draft a letter going from our feedback earlier.
prior to distribution be provided for comment, copy of the draft letter incorporating the feedback recommendations as outlined in the officer's report, but there might be things outside.
Mr Mayor, can we say as outlined to our response to the officer's report?
Yeah, I think,
Because that's incorporating Manager Ed, what we had said to you, maybe.
yeah, that's it.
That one too, our response. Does that make sense? As outlined
Including
to
our,
our response?
no,
That's not.
including our responses to the officer's report.
Including,
Right, so number 1, that council, number 1, receive and note the report. 2, prior to distribution be provided for comment a copy of the draft letter incorporating the feedback recommendations, including councillors' response to the officer's report. And 3 would be if unable to have all councillors agreeing, that this will come back to council for decision. Just to make sure we're on the same page. Hopefully point 2 goes out. Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Yeah, and if you just have everyone's tick off before you send it, please.
Mr Mayor, your budget review is next, but just Sharon said there was 6 that she was just doing the numbers on, so we can maybe go past that and then start back in there. You've got Paul sitting at the 11.4.
Was that, sorry?
I just said Sharon was just, you've got the next item in the confidential was the actual budget, the first quarter review for the budget. Sharon's still pulling together those 6 process ones.
4.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was 6 they processed, so she's just doing the numbers on it for you. Just while we're waiting for that, we can maybe go to 11.4, 12.1, 12.5.
11.4.
Sharon, have you got,
Can
are you
we-
ready, are you?
Can I move that we lay LC4 on the table?
Sharon's
Oh, yeah,
ready.
Sharon just walked in, so might have been
Are you ready
timing.
for it, Sharon, or
No, we're not. No. So we're just going to keep going.
keep going? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll go back.
In the late,
Late.
The first one, 11.
Well, we need to lay this on the table until later in the meeting.
Because it's in.
Otherwise, we have to move for it to go out of order. So can I just move that we lay it on the table to
Right. Yeah,
later
all
in the
those in
meeting?
favour? 9-0.
Paul, that side?
We up to? L4.
Right again.
You've laid that on the table, haven't you?
Sorry,
What was that?
11 for not L.
Getting bad information over there, councillor.
No, 3 different bloody.
Yeah, you've got the latest in there.
Okay.
What page?
What do you have to do?
11.4.
which one's this?
11.4 in the open. Do we have a page number?
Page 75.
So, have we done conflicts on this?
Yeah, oh, we haven't read them out, no.
Manager Paul, is this important to do this one today?
He's been waiting, let's
Which one is it?
page 75.
Was it?
Let's do it.
Right.
Okay, who's first?
I'd like to move, sorry. Was it declare? I'd like to declare a conflict of interest in item 11.4. Description is Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform. Declaring councillor is Councillor Mark Edwards. Person with the interest, related party, close associate, other relationship is myself, Mark Edwards, and Kim Edwards and Cameron Edwards. Particulars of interest: I'm a partner in the partnership of KM and C Edwards and sell cattle at the Roma Saleyards. Type of conflict: declarable conflict of interest. Action will be leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. Who's next?
I'd just like to declare a declaration of interest, item 11.4, description Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform. The declaring councillor is myself. Person with interest is my parents, Gary and Julie Burkett. Particulars of interest: Gary and Julie Burkett buy and sell cattle at the Roma Saleyards. It's a declarable conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
I'll declare conflict of interest in 11.4, Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform. Declaring councillors myself, Wendy Taylor. Myself and husband Peter and Wendy Taylor are directors of Layershire Proprietary Limited. Layershire buy and sell cattle at the Roma Saleyards. I have a declarable conflict of interest and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest in 11.4, Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform. The declaring councillor is myself, Councillor Julie Guthrie. Myself, my husband Ross and my son Nick are shareholders in Guthrie Pastoral Group. I'm a part of this entity that buys and sells cattle at the Roma Saleyards through our nominated agent, PJH Livestock and Property, who are mentioned in the organisation to which this report applies to. I'm going to leave the room for this declarable conflict of interest while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Yeah, item 11.4, Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform. I'm Councillor Jeff McMullen. Person of interest is myself. Particulars of interest, I'm registered to buy and sell cattle at Roma Saleyards. Type of conflict, I have a declarable conflict of interest, and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
I'd like to declare a conflict on 11.4, descriptions Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform. Declaring councillor is Councillor Joanne Hancock. Person with the interest is GL and JM Hancock, my husband and myself. Hancock Pastoral Company, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and my husband and myself. Particulars of interest, our entities buy and sell cattle at the Roma Saleyards. Type of conflict, declarable conflict of interest. Action will be they'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. That's it.
That it?
You're not declaring an interest, Councillor Ladbroke? And you're not either, Mayor Golder? But you both buy and sell cattle at the Saleyards?
Well, I haven't lately, no, but I don't believe there's a conflict in a electronic system.
No, I don't either.
But you both, just so I'm clear, as Councillor Lepp, you're registered to buy and sell at the Roma Saleyards?
Yeah, but I don't see, any.
I can't see what that is to do with, a conflict to do with buying electronic.
There's no quorum here anyway, so.
Yeah, okay, so do we have any wording or?
Everyone comes back in.
Righto. We want to get them to come back in, please. Okay, we did not have a quorum. Is there any motion that we need to move, or Councillor O'Neill?
I'll move that council delegate power under the Local Government Act to the Chief Executive Officer.
Camera's on screen if it helps.
Thanks, Cal. That in accordance with section 150(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2009, the council delegate deciding the matter of Roma Saleyards Livestock Management Platform to the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, in accordance with section 2571B.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Do we all vote?
Yeah. We can all vote on it.
Yeah,
We have to.
everyone can vote.
We're voting on delegating.
All those against? 8-1 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on. What's next?
Excuse me, Rob, with that, we still don't have the briefings after, like,
So I think you've got council at one of Sam Thrupp for like 20 minutes of your time.
Lisa Chandler's a bit worried. She's going to have to go, she said. Probably because of family commitments.
So we're still in open.
I don't think it's important.
We're still in open.
We're still in open.
Mayor Golder, just you're in the plum seat because you knew you were going to be against that, but you never indicated that you were against it. Had you, I would have spoken to the motion.
That's fine. You're quite welcome to speak if you'd like.
But you didn't
Okay.
indicate that it was against. It would have been
No,
a
but
waste
you
of
could have
time.
spoken for the motion if you were strongly for the motion.
That would have been a complete waste of council's time.
Well, it may not be to hear from you, Councillor O'Neill. Okay, moving on. We're on to, what's the next one, Kel? 12.1.
106.
Thank you, 106. 4.1, applications for funding under Queensland Government's Building Our Regions Fund Round 6. Did we have any questions, Manager Graham, with this one last week when we talked about it?
I think he's
It was just added on the table last week.
just because the councillors, I think he wanted the other councillors, or it was a request for the, we had some councillors away last week, but
Yeah.
we did have Graham, there wasn't any questions on the day. We did that briefing session after that, it was laid on the table at the previous meeting there, and then I think it was just because you wanted all your councillors there, that it was laid on the table.
I know. Do councillors have any questions? In regards to the other one with the bore that we already decided, I think we decided that, didn't we, to move ahead with the bore? Yeah.
That's the next item.
It's
That's
laid
the
on
Oh, it's the next item.
Yeah, I think out of that briefing session, Mr Mayor, there was the agreement for it, but because these two reports were linked, they were both laid on the table to all your councillors in attendance. But
So my question is, storage of water is so valuable, so if we wanted to include in bore 7 some storage there, would it affect this, chances of getting both of those, or do you think there's chance to put a storage in there as well, or more storage in there?
It just increases the value of the applications. It means that other projects will drop off. But I don't think it'll jeopardise the chances of getting that funding, no.
It wouldn't.
No.
And how urgent is this one with this airport sewerage upgrade?
The issue's been around for a while, so I think that probably with the value of the reticulation now, it's jumped up from a medium-sized project to a very large project, and my opinion is that they should really be looking at whether on-site treatment isn't a cheaper, better option based on the costs that have just come in.
I think there's some major projects planned for out there at the airport, Mr Mayor, there too, with some development out there with the hangar space there too. So it would probably be timely to deal with it. It has been around for a few years, as Graham said, but there's a bit of development happening out there at the moment.
So with this of the 390, is that, and then what we'll scope it up then, what project we're going to do with the sewerage, or is this just connecting it onto the main line, or?
Is that for the airport?
Yeah, for the airport one.
That was just the funding that was approved this year, and the costs are coming from the consultant, and it's closer to 1.8 million now.
Well. Right. Any questions? Okay, do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1, submit applications for expressions of interest for all projects identified with priority of projects as listed. 2, submit applications for planning projects identified. 3, allocate the co-contribution of $390,100 for the Roma Airport Sewerage Upgrade Project in the 2022-23 budget. 4, allocate the contribution of 10% for the other projects as required in the 2022-23 budget. 5, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign the application and subsequent applications if projects progress to the next stage.
So with this, so we're putting in the 390, and part of that list is that 1.8, is it? Or are we not doing that?
If the airport project's successful to get funding, then that 390 would be carried over towards the funding.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think
Council's contribution.
Yeah, I think that's council's contribution. You've got to have a contribution in the budget to apply for the grant. Is that correct? If the grant gets up, we've got it. If the grant doesn't get up, well, we've got 390 to go back in the kitty for something
But the
else.
grant is to do all of the small, or the different towns' works. So is that what we're identifying there? And the 1.8 million wouldn't be done. We wouldn't get that money out of it, would we? That's.
If we went in that order of priority, I wouldn't expect to get that airport funding as well. if every council was to apply and get an equal funding, the funding would be in the order of about $1 million per council. So it depends on what other councils apply and what projects that come forward.
Might be everything except for the airport sewerage sort of thing.
I would suspect that we wouldn't even get halfway through that list. No.
I think Jackson
We're
also-
probably only going to get in the order of about $1 million or that sort of number.
Jackson's actually identified some airport funding as well that might be suitable for that project as well, he mentioned the other day, so there might be another funding bucket the airport manager has identified as well,
Righto.
and they're specific to airports, so.
Okay, do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Burkett, any opposition? Does the move wish to speak to the motion?
No thanks.
Anyone wish to speak for or against? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, just remember I sent that email round that we're going to add a project to the design bucket for the hydrogeological study
yes, yeah.
in the order of 100,000.
Yep. Into which bucket of money?
It goes into the design one.
Yeah, the design. Okay, moving on, 12.2 is it? 12.5.
We just stayed on the table because your point was away, but we did have that briefing and you said we.
12.5, Roma bore strategy. Do we have a mover? I'd like to move that council note the contents of the report, approve the replacement of bore 7 in Roma in paddock 3 on lot 338 WV1628, and then point through with the opportunity of storage if workable with the application. So to allow some flexibility, if you can get a storage in with that bore, that we could do that as to have some extra storage rather than just the bore. Do we have a second for that motion? Councillor Burkett, any opposition?
Doesn't really make sense, but with the opportunity of storage if workable with the application.
The opportunity,
Water storage, including storage if is workable the right,
If funding available,
well, it's just like making sure that it'll. Well, it's more to do with what's going to probably got a chance of getting over the line.
including storage if it meets the criteria
Of the application.
of the application. I'm happy with that.
Okay, so I'm happy, so movers, second is happy. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Certainly do. I think more we can do with water is very important to the town. And this will be a change that we're looking for a different aquifer. So I do believe this is something that hopefully give us a bit more water security for our community. Does anyone else wish to speak for or against? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 0. Thank you.
Thanks,
What's next?
Councillor, so you've got, you've still got L1,
Those two people
still
here
got,
for that meeting, that QC.
Oh, yeah.
LC4, and I believe there was one that the Mayor introduced, the new item the Mayor introduced regarding Australia Day, so you've got 3 to go.
So do you want me to
Sorry?
Councillors, you've got L1.
L1.
You've also got the first quarter budget review, and then also the one that the Mayor introduced regarding Australia Day categories.
This is the one you got the legal advice on.
It is, through you, Mr. Mayor, it's one I circulated there.
Yeah.
You would have got that last week. It's on there.
Which one's that for?
Just on L1, Mr. Mayor, just regarding the recruitment process.
When did we get that? About a week ago.
It's been, sorry, I put it through on the Monday, you probably would have got it the Tuesday, councillors, so. And I did check on Wednesday at the meeting last week if you'd all received it and everyone said.
Yeah, I know, I'm just going to try and go back to it, that's all I could.
Check the date, please.
It's the 27th of October.
27th, thank you.
Oh, but
Councillor, I did include the full email chain there so you could see what I sent down as well. From that council meeting at Bar, there was 2 other pieces of legal advice you were getting that was separate to this one, and that's still coming as well, but this is to do with one of them.
Well, I move we lay this on the table to next meeting of next Wednesday,
Why is that, Mr Mayor, can I ask?
to wait for the other 2 pieces of legal advice.
What, for this resolution?
No, for the others.
But we may not get it by then, Mr Mayor.
You may not get the legal advice.
You've got to put that resolution now. It's a procedural motion. You've
Yeah, okay, well, I'll put that, we lay it on the table till next Wednesday's meeting to receive the other legal advice. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, so that is 3-6 with motion lost, if I'm called for a division. Okay, do we have a mover?
Okay, yeah, Mr Mayor, I would like to move, I just got to... Oh, okay. Yeah, in view of resolution number 0M-08.2021-8, that council seeks application from suitable qualified persons to fill the pending vacancy of Chief Executive Officer of Maranoa Regional Council to commence on or after 2nd of March 2022. I need to put in something just to say when we're going to go, and this seek applications. The council seek applications in brackets, I suppose, or after applications.
Is it to...
So I'll say something as soon as possible. Well, you know, I don't know how to. So,
is it council intent that
get them.
Council commence the process to seek applications?
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, that'll be good. Thank you. I'll read it again.
To seek applications.
And in view of resolution number 0M-08.2021-8, the council commenced the process to seek applications from suitable qualified persons to fill the pending vacancy of Chief Executive Officer of Maranoa Regional Council to commence on or after 2nd of March 2022.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion?
You just want to drop that council, wouldn't you? That in view of resolution blah blah blah, council commence.
Oh, yeah. In view of, okay, I'm happy, just drop the that off and yeah.
Sorry, Kel, in view.
The first word I've got, yeah. I'm happy with that.
All right, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett, any opposition?
Can I just ask a question?
Please go
through
ahead.
the chair, Deputy Mayor. The intention is to, I imagine, if you're seeking applications, to use a recruitment firm.
I suppose, yeah.
It's a way you're going to get a suite of applications is to use a firm. So I don't know if you.
Well, you don't need to. You can also just go out to the market yourself. Councils have done that too.
Well, I suppose we have to give some direction on where to go.
In fact, we didn't with the
No.
directors. We used a firm. You could have point 2, suitable employment agencies be brought back to council for consideration. Something to
Get the process
Direction.
going.
So,
No, that's the one that's
Okay, so we will
suitable.
just to remind council that we've moved the motion to get legal advice and we haven't got it back to do with how the recruitment process should go, which is why I laid it on the table. So just be aware of that
So-
when we.
What this legal advice here?
No, it was about
And what I can't work out what this wasn't what we were chasing anyway.
No, this is where it came out after the meeting, councillors, this is where the confusion was. There was 3 motions that was actually moved, or 3 reports went up, and the mayor actually moved 2 of those motions. One of them was about commencing the process, and the other motion that was put forward was actually getting legal advice on what that process is, how do you undertake it. And when we discussed this last time, and that's why we had a bit of debate about what the intent of that motion was, we were talking about the one that you delegated to me to go and get advice on, which was on your report, Deputy Mayor, you put up, and whether a councillor can put that report up.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the Mayor said, well, I'm pretty sure the intent was I wanted to get advice on the actual, what is the process. He'd actually moved that was a separate motion, and that was to engage Hopwood Gunham to undertake that work.
But there was, my understanding from memory, there was to be some legal advice as to whether I could put the motion up.
That's correct. That's
That's
what
what you
I
got.
We've
That's
got
what
the
I circulated.
response.
And the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer was
Yeah,
yes.
well,
Any councillor could have done that,
Yeah.
but you're actually acting without getting the legal advice on the motion, which was to do with what is the process, or what could it be in selecting a chief executive officer, and we haven't got that back, and that's why I moved to lay it on the table till next week, so hopefully we get that information back. So, that's why I was waiting for that before
To tie it all in.
to tie it in.
So do you need to add, Mr Mayor, do you need to add something that says that suitable employment agencies be brought back to council for consideration after receipt of?
Well, it's up to the mover and the seconder what they'd want.
That way will cover it all.
okay, so there's still legal advice to come, is that what we're saying?
Yes, yeah, about the process from Hopwood Gammon.
Okay. After the receipt of legal advice about the process, okay. Dot point 2, the suitable employment agencies be brought back to council for consideration after receipt of legal advice about the process.
I'm happy with that.
Righto, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? For or against? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, now, what else is left?
You've got the one that you introduced, Mr Mayor, on Australia.
LC4.
We've also got LC4, which is the budget. I think the LC4 Sharon wanted to go back into close to.
Which is the
present
next
those
one
figures.
now, sorry?
You've got 2 to go, councillors, the one that the Mayor introduced about Australia Day, and then you've got LC4 about the adopting the first quarter budget review. Director Sharon wanted to go into close to discuss those figures with you, so maybe you deal with the other first and.
Yeah, we might go into
relevant
close.
stuff and leave.
I'll move that we go into closed to deal with LC4.
We have a seconder. Councillor Taylor, any opposition? We go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. 2021-22 quarter 1 budget review to 30th of September 2021 revised. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 adopt the 2021-22 budget amendments as presented. 2, adopt the revised financial statements for 2021/22 budget amendments as shown in the report's attachments. Revenue policy 2021/22, revenue statement 2021/22, revised budget financial statements 2021/22 and following 2 years, revised budget financial statements 2021/22 and following 9 years, revised financial sustainability ratios 2021/22, total value of change in rates and charges, and that the documents be placed on the council website. I don't think I need to say what the council website is.
No.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
What have we got next?
Last one, councillors, the Australia Day.
Nice and kind.
Oh, the new one, is it? Okay.
Manager Ed, what's the deadline for any God, I missed, did you talk about this morning when I was at the deadline to change this or to have this out, because the deadline's the 26th of November?
That was set up to, through Mr Mayor, was set up to coincide with the last council meeting of the year, 8th December. The timing sequences, so we can get a report to you so you can approve the nominees.
So, just
So,
nut this out a bit more, and more cable. Have we got time to do that?
we're out in the market right now, if we're going to introduce the peoples
It has
of
to be
wood.
today.
Yeah. And I see the wording here, we may be able to accommodate something like that. But if we were going to go to an electronic platform to have people vote, we probably don't have the time.
This year.
Now, on the 26th of November,
Yeah,
because we don't have a technology available, we'd have to find it. But the simple, I don't know how that works, but I'm saying it's very tight, that's all. Yeah. We're out in the market now.
Mr Mayor, I think in the concept's pretty good, but there's too many holes in it that could be, like, with the various points of meat, or like replying text and all that, it's too easy to manipulate, but I don't want to take the prestige away from the other nominations. Like, I think we need to nut it out more, maybe look at next year, I don't know, but.
I agree.
Because I get where you're going with it, but I just think it's a bit too late in the game to chat it in.
So can I just ask a question again? Was it, when was the closing? Was it
26th of November.
26th of November?
Maybe we could look at it next year. As I know that the Mayor has said about the, people who might not be able to fill in the form, maybe we could promote, as we might not have promoted enough, but maybe we can promote that, as we always do, that if anyone can't fill in the form, that they actually can go to the local development officers and get help to fill in the form. And it can be as little or as much as they want to do.
And once again, like I said this morning, it does open it up to someone to flood the market for the
Coolest kid.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's, on the current form, it's not a good look to the younger people that they're probably saying, oh yeah, he's a pretty cool fella, he's great at sport and that's it. And then I just think we've got to put some parameters around it. And I think that the concept's good, but I think it's just open up for someone to really manipulate. Technically the wrong person might get it because it could be just flooded with the way it's set up.
And a lot of the lot of changes that have occurred for this year's process has come from the feedback from the assessment panel from the previous year, who were the citizens of the year. Maybe it's worthwhile floating, Councillor Burkett, when you and I do that this year, floating this idea and getting some feedback as to whether those people from last year think it'd be a good idea. And I don't know, but it is too late, I think.
It'll just be rough.
There's a risk.
Yeah, I think there's a risk in not doing something too, and I think it's sort of become fairly elitist because the average person that just wants to quickly tell you something about someone doing a great job can't, because it doesn't have that process, is the feedback that I get from the community. I might change my motion. I might change it to that the community be advised that local development officers are available to fill in application forms with the...
Assist with the filling in?
Oh no, I'm actually talking that they'd be filling, well, I'm just going to clarify that the information will be good. The criteria, so where have we got that one? Oh yeah, up the top. The community be advised that LDOs are available to fill in application forms whilst with members of the community providing the information, so there should be no barriers on
Submitting.
in putting forward nominations.
How about, in submitting nominations,
Submitting,
sounds better.
yeah.
Okay, and I'll remove the other one.
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
McMahon.
can I, in light of some of the discussion, do you want to put something in there to start the process with the,
Righto, yeah.
for next year, like talk to the the judge, the panel, sorry, who were,
Point two is that council instigate a People's Award with a simple nomination process available to be brought back to council to encourage more participation in the process.
Just so we're clear, Kel's written investigate, but you use the word instigate. Do you mean investigate?
I mean instigate this year, so the officers come back with how we can do it.
Yeah,
For next year.
Well, instigate means they're going to do it. Do you
Yeah.
mean investigate? Then that's what I'm trying to.
So
If
you're
investigate, I'll
If
for
you
next
mention
year,
next year now.
start the investigation. Well,
It's
yeah.
for next year, but I
Yeah.
want to get it moving.
So
we're gonna
you want
do
them to investigate it, to bring back to council, to make a decision,
For next
not instigate it, because they'll just go off and do it.
Oh, well, I definitely mean to come back to council, so.
Well,
council-
investigate,
And
yeah.
So, and Mr Mayor, would you like to add in what Councillor O'Neill said, that during this process, current one, that we talk to the
Previous recipients.
nominate last year's winners?
Well, you just the
Well, it'll
members
be
on the
the
panel.
assessment panel,
Assessment
yeah,
panel.
That's all, yeah.
which will be made up of previous.
Happy to do that, but also sort of looking for people that probably never been involved in the process, but might have some comment.
But and some of them wouldn't be, like
That's
award
right.
winners from last year,
Never
might
been.
never have any involvement, they'd just be lucky enough to be nominated and win, so.
Correct.
Or,
And we're worthy recipients, because they
Yeah.
go through a rigorous assessment process.
Kel, just in that first point there, and just in terms of the application forms, just somewhere in there, but it's just trade A nominations there, so what we're saying, what it's actually for.
Mr Mayor, can I ask a question,
Yep.
just so I can just get my team around
Yep.
this? When you say, so that, to encourage more participation in the process, do you mean that, by a People's Award, it's more open and you would likely to get more participation, or are we not getting enough participation in the other categories?
It would be so simple, it would encourage people just to do it on the run, that they could say, I think Billy Bloggs or Samantha Jones is great, and it's a 5 or 10 second or
Yep.
30-second process,
Technology based.
and it's quick, but it also could be just paper where you come in and say, here, this is who I think. But it's not, oh wow, you've got to fill out in.
Yeah, understand.
but Mr Mayor, what's the criteria, like,
Yeah, I think we
like,
need to still
say
know
they got the
now.
Caltex all-rounder at the college and they've an all, like each school has an all-rounder award, and it's got a set, voted on by their peers, which this would be.
Yeah, but that's
But it's
why we're
got a
going to
set-
bring it back to
yeah.
council, so you get to
You-
choose.
Yeah,
But-
right, we'll get our head around it.
But I think we jump at shadows and we're not getting the participation, so I think we need to do
But we
that.
don't want to belittle it by, like I said, some,
Making it popular.
yeah, a popularity thing, because in this day and age, kids, they
Well,
get the
there's
wrong
no-
message.
The judges will sort that out, sure.
No,
No,
People's
the
Award.
criteria's got to be very clear.
Criteria will,
Ain't
but
no judges.
we
No,
have,
but you'll need someone will have to make the decision.
And the people make
The
the
people will
decision,
make
that's
the
why it's a
decision.
people choice
Yeah, but
award.
if you get 27 applications in and 5 of them for one person and 22 for the other one, that's people.
Yeah, but you might get a situation that's 20 votes each and then someone's got to
Yeah.
make the
Yeah.
decision then.
but it's not changing the other awards, they're all still there.
Yeah, no, I get all that, but
It's just a separate thing, which is sort of modernising what happens, so.
I feel confident we can work through
Oh,
this.
that's
and
okay.
make a proposal.
All right.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Edwards, any opposition?
Sorry, the Australia Day Awards program application forms, isn't just the Australia Day Awards application forms? There's no program, is it? Yeah, yeah.
Just
We knew what you meant, Cal.
Sorry, Cal, sorry.
Okay, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
That's it.
Okay, any further business? I'll close the meeting at 5:23 PM. Thank you for your attendance, council.